First off, I want to apologize for the first half of the fishing video. You can barely see my drift boat in the background. I'm off the water, been off the water for a while. I always say conditions can and do change quickly. Well, they are. As I was recording this or did this fishing video early in the day, what's happening is this night of the day I'm shooting the video, the river's going to go from 335 CFS to 1200 CFS. So like I say, conditions can and do change quickly. This is a classic example. Watch the rest of the video. You'll actually be able to see me well. I got some great river background, and the information there is still pertinent. It's still useful. Also, like I said in the report when I do it, is check on your water flows, because I think the next 48 hours we're going to have some high water conditions, which could bring in some steelhead. Anyways, enjoy the fishing report video, and yep, there we go. One. Now George is up above me fishing someplace, so we'll see if I get pleasantly interrupted during the fishing report to go chase a fish. Lots been going on, and lots been happening. A lot of changes right at this point with this report, so kind of bear with me. A couple of announcements right off the bat. One, Pineville Sports Shop still has a bunch of our flies, so if you want those, they still got a bunch. Oh, excuse me. Too much time on the water. Yeah, well, I get the problem. Also, last weekend of August, we're doing our spade casting clinic again. So if you're interested and you'd like to be part of that, get on to our, we're making a list, and then we'll come back and contact everybody in like June to make sure that you can make it. So it's, you know, we know how things change over the course of a year. So if you want to get on that notification list, contact us through the email that will be in the end of the video here. The other thing is George informed me that he has a bunch of dates that just opened up. So George has some dates for November. So he's talking like November 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 6 through to 20. So there's a whole gob of dates for November. He'll be doing steelhead fishing on the Salmon River. So George has a bunch of dates in the comments below, or wherever it is, not the comments, but the introduction that I write. I'll list those dates there that George has. You can just drop us an email. He does keep a close eye on the Lost Rivers fishing email. Does a lot better job in that. So that's the two really important announcements. The other thing is probably the most important is a bunch of folks that watch the YouTube channel and watch all of our videos have stopped and said hello. It's great. It's good to see you. It's good to meet you. So thanks for saying hello. We really appreciate that. So let's get on with the fishing report. First and foremost, we're in the middle of October, and right now we're in a transition period. As I'm shooting this video, I am down in the bottom end of the Douglaston Salmon Run today, and we're covering a bunch of water. There's right at the moment, like I said, it's a transition period. We're in the tail end of the Salmon Run. We're waiting on the front end of the Steelhead Run. There seems to be a little bit of a gap this year. Some years they overlap. Some years there's a bit of a gap. It looks like this is going to be a bit of a gap year. So when they show up, don't know. They'll show when they show. So it's kind of like go down, knock on the door, and see who wants to play. We are still getting a few very nice, even though they're kind of dark and bronzy, some very strong, very plucky salmon. We're having to sort it out through the spawners. Basically, doesn't matter where you are along the river, any bit of spawning quality habitat is occupied with salmon right now, and they're spraying eggs all over the place. So we're right in the peak of the salmon spawn right now. So that's also what's going on. And we're just, like I said, there is a few brown trout. I saw one caught today. There's a it's an odd steelhead is being caught. So right on the front of those trout showing up. So that's kind of what's also going on. The water flows are still holding at 335. So yes, the salmon in the bottom end of this river, they're not really, if they ain't setting up the spawn, they're moving. They're heading upriver. So we gotta kind of cover some water. We're fishing pinch points again and concentration areas. But the other thing is we are swinging over some of the spawning gravel looking for those steelhead and those trout, because in the bottom of the river, that's where you're going to find most of them, is some sort of slaughter cut, some soft holding water around the spawners. Because as I always say, the Egg McMuffin bar is open and they're on the eggs, so they're really chewing on them. And the other comment I always have is, I don't know who likes what better, the trout like and the steelhead liking the eggs, or me liking Egg McMuffins. And I like Egg McMuffins, so they're really stacking on them and feeding them. So that means flies are going to be egg sucking leeches. We're getting a bunch of fish on egg sucking leeches. That's been one of our top producing patterns. Again, we are shifting over to egg patterns and drifting egg patterns too, and that seems to be helping. We're still getting some quality salmon eating the egg pattern, so the egg bite is on. Even though we don't have a lot of trout, the salmon are definitely chewing on the eggs. So the egg bite's on. There's a lot of eggs in the system. It's getting saturated. So that's why the eggy style stuff is starting to work really good. So that's the gig on the bottom of the river. We're covering water. We're looking for steelhead. Ooh, that was interesting. Immature bald eagle. And you like hearing that. So that's pretty much what's going on down here. Yes, the fish are still crabby. Yes, we're back to covering a lot of water because the number of salmon are down and they're moving fast. So we're trying to intercept those, and we're, like I said, we're looking for steelhead today and some brown trout. So, and there's not a lot. Upriver, you go above Pineville, you go to Alice Cove, you go to the fly zones. Those places are stuffed with salmon, just absolutely stuffed. Especially the fly zones. Now there you're going to have some pretty rough looking fish. I mean, talk about zombies. Even Stephen King would be proud of how bad they look. They are really zombies. There is some good fresh fish. They're all going to be, there's a lot of dark fish, but there's a lot of fish up in there. You'd probably have to do a little sorting to try to find some quality fish. Maybe work the heads of the pools and the pools more to find a quality fish. But you get near the gravel, it's going to be covered up with spawners, and there's a lot of rough looking females right now. And there's a lot of rough looking males too. So that's been going on. They've been spawning on there for about a week or so. Keep in mind, when the salmon get on the spawning gravel, start spawning, they do deteriorate very fast. So that's, so we're having a lot of that. We're starting to see a little bit of a die off upriver, but that'll probably be happening next week or two. A couple notes to keep in mind. As I am recording this, of course I got to record it, edit it, and get it posted, so there's a pretty good time delay in there. I always tell everybody conditions can and do change quickly. I expect conditions to change quickly in the next 48 hours. Tomorrow they're talking anywhere to 1 inch to 2 inches of rain up here, and the status of the reservoirs and everything else, I expect we're going to get a big blast of water, or a good blast of water, at least some runoff. That could trigger the steelhead. So be mindful that if you come up later in the week, check on water flows, make sure it's something you're comfortable with, and if the water does come up, it's going to be an egg bite. We're most likely have steelhead, and then, like I said, the egg sucking leeches, and more importantly, the egg patterns are going to work really good. And right now, I just use an orange egg pattern. Most of the eggs are fresh. They got an orange look to them, so I use a lot like nuclear roe bugs, egg beaters, and stuff like that. And I keep them on about a size. I like them in size 10s and 8s. Right now, I can get away with a size 8 really easy. So I do, because if you hit a steelhead, they're going to be hot. And of course, we're playing around with some pretty grumpy salmon too, so I like to have a hold. But definitely, orange egg patterns, maybe a little bleached out, not chartreuse, but peachy colored egg pattern, because it's been going on now, and I'm noticing some of the eggs start to bleach, so that could be more in there. But if the water comes up and we get some runoff or a dam release, it's definitely going to fire off a really hard egg bite, and it can most likely start pulling in a bunch of steelhead and brown trout. So that's pretty much what's going on here. Like I said, just check on the waters before you come up. I've been starting to get asked about western New York, like Oak Orchard and all those surrounding tribs. There's definitely salmon in the Oak Orchard. Where and how much, I haven't been there yet, so I don't really know what the population like. Some of the surrounding creeks have some salmon in them, so it's time. A little early for brown trout yet, so we're going mostly up there. It's going to be a complete, primarily salmon gig. And if we get some really good rains and they get those smaller creeks running, they're going to get a lot of salmon in there too. So the Western Tribs are starting to fire up, and they're cooking. So, you know, if you're going to like Oak Orchard, it's going to be a salmon gig. Take a whole pocket of willy buggers and egg-sucking leeches. You'll get some business. So that pretty much does it. I can't think of anything else at the moment. If you got a question, leave it down in the comments. Don't forget to check the description of the video. I'll have George's dates there. And as always, I think it's, yeah, right about here, there's a little subscribe thing and a bell icon. Hit that. We're working on some fishing videos. We got one in the can I'll probably post, and we're actually shooting today. So hopefully we'll have some fishing videos, and maybe we'll get a fish yet today so you can see a fish in the video rather than us just trying to catch fish. Until then, folks, good fishing. See you on the water, and if you happen to see me, stop and say hello. See you, folks. This is Jay at JPEG Guides and Lost River Fishing. We are a year-round fly fishing catch and release guide service. We fish the Lake Ontario tributaries, and then during the spring and the summer we also fish the inland trout streams, classic dry fly fishing. During the heat of the summer, we will do the warm water fishing for bass and pike. If you're interested in any of our outings or have any questions, please feel free to email us at fish@lostriversfishing.com. Hope to hear from you, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact us.